Hey all, the Transmaster Druid again here. Apologies for being so absent. July is always, I always call it the cursed month because I feel like anything that will go wrong can and does go wrong in the month of July. It's when I lost both my grandparents. Last year I had COVID, and this year we've been dealing with my mom's cancer diagnosis, which is a really rare type of cancer that she has to head 3 hours out of her way to get any treatment for. Um, as a matter of fact, her surgery is today. Maybe it's even happening right now. I don't know. But at any rate, July is in the rearview mirror. Finally, praise the gods. And so I'm going to talk about kind of another woo woo topic, but um, I found this excellent book, um, Weirdcraft. It refers to, the full title is Weirdcraft Healing Self and Nature Through the Mysteries of the Fates by Matthew Ash McKernan. And he presents a really great framework of not only fate in Old Norse, but the idea that fate is like the Awen in the Celtic framework, the Druid framework, and in another book, let me show you all my books. I have too many books. I'll show you this one, The Wakeful World, Animism, Mind, and the Self and Nature by Emma Ristel, or the Druid Priestess. And another book that I enjoyed immensely, if I can find it, is hmm, well, if we can't find it, we'll just talk about it. I've got a lot of, I have too many books. I still haven't read, I still haven't read the autobiography of a yogi yet. I have to get on that. But at any rate, oh, it refers to, um, this third book refers to the concept of the 0 point field and quantum biology and all of those other nice things that a lot of people regard as fringe science, but it really shouldn't be fringe science because this could be like the theory of everything that so many physicists have been looking for. So I don't remember if I've defined the 0 point field in any of my vlogs previously, but I'll um, I'll give it a go again. It's a rather complex topic, but if I had to think of a thing to compare it to, it's like the Force in Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars fan. Um, I'm not like one of those that's all hater and everything. I've genuinely enjoyed it for the large part of my life. So the 0 point field is energy that connects everything. It's emanated by everything, both live organic and non organic things, and it allows us to do all kinds of things that you would expect to be only possible in science fiction or fantasy, such as bilocation, extrasensory perception, um, you know, mind over matter type things, anything you can think of, like astral projection, anything that you can think of that most of science still regards as hogwash can be empirically identified and proven using the theory, the theoretical framework, and studies within the 0 point field. Uh, the book, let me just look it up real quick. There are too many books on the 0 point field. I can't find it. It's by Lynn McTaggart. I can tell you the name of the author. The Field. The Quest for the Secret Force of the Universe. All I had to do was type in her name. There we go. So, at any rate, the 0 point field, I highly recommend that book. It will blow your mind. The fact that these NASA and Princeton funded studies and scientists started discovering all this really far out woo woo stuff was actually possible. It also ties in the founder of the Institute for the Noetic Sciences. I've been raving about them for a while now. But all of these things are connected, and today I'm going to talk about it through the framework of Norse and Weirdcraft. So, in all of these books that I've been mentioning, it has been discussed that there's too much of an over reliance in the current scientific field, the current scientific paradigm that we operate from, um, is too stuck on material dualism. What is material dualism? It is the idea that there is a distinction between ourselves and what's out there. Mind, matter, us, animals. When both according to the paradigm of the 0 point field, and if you ask so many indigenous pagan societies, there simply isn't a difference between mind and matter, consciousness, unconsciousness. It's all very Jungian, and the power of our that meaning the power of our subconscious mind being able to not only influence the world around us, but easily influence the world around us. So, Mr. McKernan introduces the concept of fragmentation, which is exactly that dualism, where we think, there's a difference. So let me just read you this passage that I've earmarked in here, where he reconceptualizes Ragnarok, the idea of the Old Norse apocalypse, essentially. If the many symptoms of fragmentation continue to proliferate through all the domains unchecked, we will find ourselves at Ragnarok. Ragnarok, the prophetic twilight of the gods, is the Norse apocalypse as foretold by a powerful seeress in the poem known as the Voluspa. Let's take a quick look at how this myth of yore may be manifesting within our zeitgeist. We start with an abridged retelling of the truth. The story begins with the god Odin journeying into the underworld to consult an unnamed seeress in order to learn the beginning and end of the multiverse and the fate of his son Balder. During their interaction, the seeress tells of the past, present, and future. She speaks of the fate of Balder and the fate of all the gods. She paints a picture of the beginning, middle, end, and beginning again. She tells of Balder, god of light, love, and beauty, and his dreams of his death, which his mother Frigg also foresees. In an attempt to avert this terrifying fate, Frigg travels through the worlds and asks that each being make a pact not to hurt Balder. All agree to this pact except for the mistletoe, which Frigg deems harmless. For a time it seems that Frigg has succeeded and the crisis has been averted. The gods celebrate in their triumph. It is only a matter of time, however, before Loki, angry at the gods for having imprisoned and excommunicated his children Hel, Fenrir, and Jormungandr, devises a plan for revenge. Loki finds the mistletoe, fashions it into a dart, and tricks Balder's blind brother, Hod, into throwing the dart at Balder during a hubristic game, thus killing him and setting Ragnarok in motion. Three roosters call out, one in the realms of the gods, one in the realm of the giants, and another in the realm of hell. A terrible 3-year winter, called Fimbulwinter, begins, driving humanity headlong into depravity, violence, and chaos. Cosmic wolves devour the sun and moon. Hell's guardian wolf Garm and the god Tyr kill each other. The wolf Fenrir breaks his magical fetters, kills Odin, and is later killed by Odin's son. Jormungandr, the world serpent, breaks free from his Ouroborean knot around Midgard, causing the world tree to shudder, before being killed by and killing Thor. Loki, also freed from his bonds, leads the giants and inhabitants of Hell into the final battle where he and the guardian Heimdallr end up killing each other. Many other notable things happen, but in the final act, just as the seeress has foretold, the giant Surtur arrives with his flaming sword, destroying Bifrost, the rainbow bridge that connects the worlds, killing the Lord of Nature, Freyr, and setting all the multiverse aflame. In the end, Surtur's flames burn almost all living things until only ash remains. Some unknown amount of time later, a great flood comes and washes all away. Fragmentation has come to its natural end. This is not the end, though. Just as the phoenix rises from its own ashes, the world tree sprouts anew from the great sea, and the cycle begins again. Balder and his brother return from their place in the underworld. The daughter of the sun takes over her mother's station in the sky. The sons of Thor and Odin, as well as Hoenir and Njord, and 2 humans, Leif and Lifthrasir, Life and Life Breath, emerge from their hiding places, and together they start the whole cycle over again. The prophecy of the seeress ends with a vision of a great eagle swooping down from atop the renewed world tree to catch a fish from clear waters flowing through a new, wild, and bountiful world. Where life remains continues onward, refreshed, renewed, reborn. So how does this myth relate to our current day and age? Some people are of the mind that we are currently living through the early stages of Ragnarok, and that things are only going to get worse from here out. Others say that Ragnarok is cyclical, that has already happened, as evidenced by previous mass extinctions, world wars, the collapse of civilizations, climatic changes, and it will happen again. Ragnarok, Revelations, the rapture, the apocalypse, the end, whatever you call it, there are many who pray for its coming, for to them it means the return of the Messiah or the dawn of the Golden Age. Some see Ragnarok as a symptom of a deeper issue and a necessary part of our process of individual and collective awakening. Some see the whole thing as a natural process, a natural law, a great cycle of rebirth, life, death, rebirth, unfolding exactly how it is meant to. What do you think? I wonder if Ragnarok is cyclical or spiral. Maybe it need not play out in the same way every time. If we are witnessing the unfolding of Ragnarok yet again, maybe this time we can do things differently. What if there is an alternative path, an option that the CRS gods and giants did not see the last time around? What if each revolution of the wheel of fire brings with it a revolution of consciousness? What if with each increase of awareness comes the realization of more choices, new options, healthier options? What if there is an unseen path, another way Ragnarok can play out? Maybe there are other ways to look at it. What if even now we have a choice? Let's consider this for a moment. Let's consider the choice to be a simple one. Path A, the path of unconsciousness and delusion, or path B, the path of consciousness and revelation. Path A is the path toward outer apocalypse. The outer apocalypse is the apocalypse that most people imagine when they think about the end of the world. It is the dystopian and violent vision of hell on earth as depicted in most of our end of the world theories, movies, and series, fully replete with brutality, chaos, starvation, disease, and the death of billions. Path A is the result of hubris unchecked and of unconscious fragmentation. How many times have you imagined the scenario in your mind? And remember, everything is born and forged in the imagination first before it comes into the world. Path B, on the other hand, plays out completely differently. Path B is the path toward inner apocalypse. This alternative apocalypse, rather than happening mostly out of our control in the world around us, occurs at a psychological and spiritual level within us, mostly in our control. On Path B, the dissolution and destruction of reality still happen as they do during Ragnarok. However, it begins and ends within. Path B is the path of conscious fragmentation. On Path B, the death of the old age and rebirth of the new age, as described in the myth of Ragnarok, doesn't need to be terrifying, cataclysmic, hell on earth scenario. Ragnarok can occur as an intentional, conscious, alchemical, psychological, and spiritual process. Weirdcraft is just one of many integrative paths that can facilitate this process. We can choose to avert the unnecessary suffering that would come with the cataclysm of the world around us by consciously facilitating the cataclysm of the delusional worldviews within us, with guidance, of course, from people, places, and things from many sources. With Path B, we can choose to experience and witness the destruction of all that is destroying us, psychotherapeutically, before it actually physically destroys us. Instead of acquiescing to the age-old, unconscious, shadow-possessed, delusional, self-destructive habits that will lead us to a living hell on earth, we can consciously and intentionally process our shadow, destroy our habits and self-destructive patterns, as well as our oppressive systems, greed, and fear-based reactivity. On Path B, all structures based in delusion, internal and external, will need to be consciously dismantled, burned in the alchemical flame of Surtur's blade. Our self destructive impulses, worldviews, and lifestyles can be reduced to ash and washed away and reborn within the cleansing waters of soul awareness and weird consciousness. The I, me, my, mine, egoic sense of self can be integrated with the larger we, us, ours sense of self. As discussed in Chapter 2, mythology is a mirror into the psyche. It unites the inner and outer landscape. It is prophetic. It doesn't have to be considered as set in stone. It can be taken metaphorically, psychologically, and spiritually as an educational soul story meant to help get us back in homeostatic attunement with nature. The soul story of Ragnarok can be seen as a warning foretelling what will happen if we choose Path A and play the old hat game of unconscious existential competition. The soul story of Ragnarok shows us what will happen if we choose to emulate the ways of the squabbling gods and giants. In the old stories, they too are operating from a fragmented worldview of the multiverse. They operate unconsciously. They fight each other, steal from each other, rape, kill, lie, and cheat each other just like humanity. The unconsciousness keeps them stuck in the pattern of existential competition. Our unconsciousness is doing the same. We are living reflections of each other, humans, gods, goddesses, giants, nature. Imagine if the gods, giants, dwarfs, elves, and humans alike awakened to the truth that they were both different and one, all interconnected, all interdependent, all interrelated. Imagine we're all of one mind to consciously and intentionally settle disputes, clarify miscommunication, and heal traumas in healthier ways. Imagine if the gods and giants had access to different options, different paths. What if Odin, Thor, Loki, Tyr, Surtur, and the giants had good therapists, conflict mediators, wise elders, psychedelic medicines? Imagine each was able to address and heal their inner child, their traumas, their transgenerational traumas. Imagine if they knew they could avert the bloody and violent apocalypse by doing their own shadow work and integration. Imagine if they could work together to address larger systemic inequalities and failures and make sure that everyone's basic needs were met, and vitriolic annihilation was not necessary. Imagine if they make different choices. Imagine if we do. When each of us wakes in the morning, we find ourselves at a similar crossroads with a similar choice. Path A or B. Unconsciousness or consciousness. Unintentionality or intentionality. Which path do I want to walk down today? Which path do I want to walk down in this moment? Path A, the path of fear and existential competition, leads to a fragmented soul mind and the external apocalypse. Path B, the path of love and existential cooperation, leads to one soul mind, the internal apocalypse, the rebirth of the golden age within and without. Path B asks us to reimagine the apocalypse as an internal process that isn't completely out of our hands. It asks that we consciously and intentionally take responsibility for the impacts of our thoughts, words, and actions. That we make different choices that lead us to becoming more loving of our one mind and soul. Path B leads one back to empathy, into body, emotion, and relationship where necessary inner alchemy and integration can and need to occur, to an awakening of web consciousness. Imagine you and I might turn toward each other, work through our issues, lay down our weapons, rein in and refocus our technologies, and help each other heal and transform both inner and outer worlds in alignment with love and the natural laws of unity, interdependence, interconnectivity, and reciprocity. Imagine the revelation, healing transformation, and becoming that might be possible. Imagine we might eventually be able to face each other, hug it out, and heal heart to heart, hand in hand, side by side. Who is to say that this has not been fate's plan all along? Bah, that was a lot of reading, but I wanted to use someone else's words to communicate that rather than trying to make you understand it, because I'm a good writer but not a very good talker. So, reflecting upon those words, it sounds like a lot of hard work, but if the future depended upon it, would you rather face those inner demons and then help other people do the same? Or would you rather we have that plan A apocalypse where everything just goes to shit? Me personally, I like, being alive. So I would favor, I would favor us fixing our shit. And this conceptualization is very similar to how back when I was purely theistic Satanist, and how I would say, I want to bring about hell on earth. And, I felt that it was pretty radical saying, yes, let's bring on the apocalypse from the book of Revelations, but clearly other people have been thinking the same thing, because we need to start over. I'm sorry. I've been talking for too long. We need to start over. And when you look at the world the way it is now, that becomes so much more apparent. I mean, from the outside, my life probably looks pretty boring. You know, not working, doing too much on the internet. But it's only boring because it's comfortable. I mean, would I want more money? Of course. Um, more money, a little bit more independence, a little bit more self-reliance, that sort of thing. I don't like relying on so many systems that are so capitalistic and oppressive in nature. But that being said, my quote unquote boring life is still tempered with the realization that all of this anti trans stuff is happening across the country. It's tempered by the realization that we're out a year out from the 2024 elections, and God's forbid Trump or DeSantis gets anywhere near that White House. And I'm also deeply affected by ableism. Um, I've got people who watch these videos and pick them apart frame by frame to try and analyze what diagnoses they can slap on me. Frame by frame, they might, screenshot and sit, look at my face and try to use it as evidence for some diagnoses that you think my doctor would have picked up on in 34 years. You know, and it all comes from that place of, they're the good people and I'm the freak. I'm the degenerate. And probably also a lot of you watching, they'd consider the same, so. But I don't generally pay too much attention to them anymore. That can't be helped. There are other things that I have to think about, like, my SSI case was recently, my hearing was recently, and I'm waiting for the results of this most recent appeal. And I did a lot of spell work, including wearing an Icelandic stave on my shirt. So I'm more hopeful this time around than ever before, but I do kind of wonder what I would do if I didn't get it, especially since they keep um, student debt relief is a dead fish. I don't have that kind of money to be paying these things off. And I'm certainly not going to try working again because that was a fucking nightmare. A nightmare and a half. So, yeah, my life is comfortable up to the point where I'm still greatly affected by systems of oppression, all of those things. But at the same time, I realize that it could be worse. It could be a lot worse. So I try and use what meager resources I have to embody that Viking virtue of generosity, hospitality. I have them on my door now. Oh, hold on. Whatever. I'm taping this on a laptop. Hopefully, I finally get a phone sometime soon here. But yeah, we all need to be thinking of these things a lot more deeply, frequently, because that's the only way we're going to avoid that apocalypse A. And too many people are still much, much too content that they have theirs. Why should they care about, yours? The pandemic certainly put that front and center. So that's the long winded point that I'm trying to make when I say that we need to return to the old ways. I'm not talking about I'm not into anti-civ anarchism because indigenous societies knew what was what and how to run things. I don't know what that is. I guess that's a fire whistle. I guess there's a fire. So I'm going to take that as an indication to wrap this up. Um, because a whole lot more could be gleaned, not just from me, reading out of a book, but actually reading the books yourselves. So, Weirdcraft, Healing Self and Nature Through the Mysteries of the Fates by Matthew Ash McKernan. The Field by Lynn McTaggart. The Wakeful World by Emma Restel Orr. Those are just 3 books that you could read to try and get yourself in this mindset and begin to understand the whole very different pre-colonial indigenous paradigm of operating, of getting an understanding of human consciousness versus nature and the intersection between the two. Once we get back to viewing life, the world, society through that paradigm rather than the one that we're in now, the materialistic dualism, then I think we will be a lot closer to that apocalypse B situation that we really should be in and implementing to save our asses. So, because it's been so long, maybe I'll put out another video in August. We'll just see. It's a very long month. August and July both always feel like they drag. So, yeah, I'll probably record something else and put it out. And my voice is shot, if you can't tell. So that's it for now. Thanks for putting up with, you know, the strange noises I've been making out of my mouth hole. And see you next time at the Transmass Druid vlog.